Blessed day to each of you on this seventh Sunday after our first Easter Sunday, the day when we celebrate the Ascension of Jesus into heaven. It's a day when everything changed for all his friends. In the past weeks during the pandemic, I have been isolated, but I try to get some exercise most days. I go out walking. In the last 2 weeks, all through the neighborhood, I see graduation signs, people celebrating their young people from high school and college graduations. And then about a week ago, I spoke with one of the members of our youth group, and she had come back from college. She had left home and started this new experience of being away on her own. It was a great change, and suddenly, another change she hadn't expected. She had to come back home. And I said to her, "How is it coming back home?" And she kind of smiled and said, "Well, it's different. When you come to your graduation, or those of you who have already graduated, when you have that experience, you know that whether you go on to high school, from high school to college, or you go into work, your life has reached a changing point. You might consider your own human experience as you think about Jesus' first friends. It says in the gospel reading that Jesus was raised up. In the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 1, it says, "They were gathered together, and Jesus told them, 'You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses to the ends of the earth.'" And then in the gospel reading from Matthew in the last chapter, Jesus says to those same friends of his disciples, "Go therefore and make more disciples of all nations. Teach them what I have taught you, and behold, I will be with you until the end of the world." And then every year when we read this gospel, we take this extinguisher and place it over the Easter candle, which for 7 weeks has been our symbol of new life. And we extinguish the flame. What does that symbol mean? I remember my first experience of it being something kind of sad. The light was extinguished. What does this mean? Has Jesus gone away? Has he gone up to heaven and left us? But his very words that we just listened to are, "No, I will be with you till the end of the world." What has changed is that since your baptism, when your godparents lighted a candle from the Easter candle, the flame had passed to you. And Jesus' first disciples learned that lesson at the Ascension. Everything was to change. Now they carried Christ within them, and they carried his light out into their neighborhoods and their schools, their places of work, their families. And so consider finally these words of Jesus in the gospel. He said, "Make disciples everywhere you go." What does that mean? It means, I think, sharing our faith, talking about our experience of God in our everyday life. Very briefly, I'll give you one experience I've had. 3 months ago, when my dear friend, Father Jim, got cancer, and we went to UCLA to the hospital, we brought him into the room, and 3 doctors came in to begin attending to him, and he said to them, "You know, I believe and I pray that you will be the ones that will bring about, through your science, a miracle in my life. You may be the ones that, if God chooses, will save my life." And I was struck by the fact that he immediately started talking to these people. I had no idea if they were Catholic. I presumed they weren't. I didn't know if they had any religion at all. And I kind of wondered if his words to them, first words to them, might kind of be off-putting to them. But he maintained that ability in a very difficult time in his life to talk about God and to talk about Jesus' mother Mary. Now, 8 weeks later, he is doing very well, and it appears that perhaps there has been something miraculous happened. And one of the doctors wrote to say that he cannot understand how he has gotten so much better. And Jim says, well, it's through our prayers. It's through all the people praying for me. Do you speak about God and what happens in your church on Sundays? Do you take that out into the neighborhoods and your schools and places of work and talk about God, your experience of God wherever you are? That's the challenge for this coming week as we celebrate Ascension. Change. Become a good disciple who makes other disciples in our world.